So the first, I'll call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda is the minutes from the March meeting. They were distributed at least once on the email earlier this week, and I think they were distributed as well shortly after they were published. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or edits?
Move we accept.
Okay.
Second.
Second from Rolf. So you'll record the vote on this one. All in favor of approving the minutes from March? That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, there's a series of budget items that we're going to go through. I think it might make sense to maybe go do an overview of the budget before we go through each of the items. Yeah, I don't know if you want to do a little overview.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll definitely.
And then we'll go through. What we'll do is do an overview.
Okay.
And then we'll fill in any gaps or questions or comments as we go through each of the items that follow.
Wait, sorry, who's doing the minutes of this meeting?
Oh.
Jeff, do you have USB-C plug-in there?
I do.
Okay. Well, we could plug you up on the screen if you want.
I can't see that far anyway.
I can't read that.
I know, that's what I was saying. I
It's
can't
like
see
an
that.
part far right there.
Okay.
Actually,
I've got things that I could show, but probably at this distance.
before we go any further, my apologies. We don't have anyone taking the minutes. Pat Keene is on the minutes. He's not here.
I'm on the minutes?
You're on the minutes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. That's okay. You just pick it up from here. All we've done is.
You know what? I'll just do it from the. I'll do it from the recording.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That works.
Oh, cool.
If that's all right with you.
That's fine with me. I can give you a pad if you want to jot down those.
I'll just do it from the recording.
Cool, thanks. And I will send to you the minutes, excuse me, the outline.
Yep.
Yes, Jen, just so you can just cut and paste it.
Yep.
All right. So with that, Jeff, apologies for.
Okay. Just as an overview here, I'll send around notes on this as well. Sorry, I meant to get them out before. We have 6 budgets to consider tonight. We have the operating budget and capital budget for town public works. We have the operating and capital budgets for sewer, and the operating and capital budgets for parking. So there's 6 independent budgets. Going through them, I mean, at the highest level, the budget for the operating budget for the town of Darien is with a number of minor adjustments that are pluses and minuses throughout, is effectively stable to prior year. We have an overall budget increase in the operating budget that is almost entirely due to the new solid waste disposal contract that we have that is pending. So within the solid waste, and so we don't have a confirmed go-forward contract with Win Waste. And so what Ed has put in the budget and has been reviewed by Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance is the initial proposal from Win Waste that Ed has subsequently continued to negotiate. But as for budget purposes, we don't have the best estimate we have for budget purposes is the initial Win Waste proposal. Within that proposal, there is anticipated to be an increase in our MSW rate, as well as, and most importantly on the recycling side, we move from a situation where we are currently, we are being paid $7.50 per ton for recycling that we dispose of through Win Waste, and going forward we will be likely have to pay $75 per ton for recyclables because of the overall dynamics in the recycling market. We do have a rebate that comes to us on a monthly basis, which is variable throughout the year based on the quality of the recyclables that we present. We anticipate, or Ed anticipates, that we will get back between $35 and $55 per ton that we submit. So our net is going from a $7.50 revenue per ton to a negative, call it $30 per ton as an estimate going forward. So that's a dramatic swing for us in terms of the total cost.
How many tons estimated?
I have no idea what the total number is. we can pull that out
Yeah, I may
of
have
the
that.
presentation.
You just keep going. I think I
Yeah.
have it, yeah.
So that's really in terms of when you look at major dynamics, we are under budget this year in terms of the of heat and fuel costs from last year because rates on heat and fuel dropped against this year. We have shifts among line items. We have some of our tracking software for GPS units on all of the equipment has shifted from being basically a technology line item to a telecommunications line item. So this is what I mean in terms of puts and takes. There are really very minor pluses and minuses in other operating line items. There's no change in headcount for Public Works, kind of looking into the coming year, which I think is a kind of solid expression of kind of how Ed is managing the budget to keep it effectively flat year over year. So we anticipate, going back to the major dynamic, we anticipate, fortunately or unfortunately, the wind waste contract to be in place by the end of June. So, but actually Ed was anticipating by the 1st of June. So we're in the last innings of negotiating it. And so we anticipate there being a benefit because our budget will be set at the initial proposal of wind waste. The final proposal accepted by the town is likely to be less than that, but it's not likely to be substantially less than that. It's going to be how are they spending, how quickly are they going to replace the compactor and other elements. So that's kind of at the highest level, that is the operating budget for the town. Let me check my notes to see if there's any other. So in the process of reviewing the budget, the town administrator made a few adjustments to Ed's submitted budget to reduce that overall budget by a couple of $100,000. Most importantly, we had the proposal was only to increase tipping fees for commercial contractors that deposit recycling at the transfer station. Ed's proposal was to increase their fee from free to $50 per ton, and the Board of Selectmen moved that up to $75 per ton. So it's neutral to the anticipated cost, minus the rebate. The town keeps the entire benefit of the rebate. So that was the only, frankly, I think the only material adjustment that was made in the Board of Selectmen's review. And in the Board of Finance's review, no changes were made from the Board of Selectmen's review. So that's where we are on the operating budget. For those of you tracking it, any other comments that you want to make in terms of the operating budget?
Well, just high level, what that resulted, you basically said it, but high level expenses went up by about $470 on disposal, mostly attributable to this disposal. The revenues went up $470, and the expenses were up about $419, basically net. It's a very little movement on the overall budget, predominantly related to the MSW disposal and the tipping fees that are being increased.
If I'm looking at this correctly, the solid waste line itself of the proposed budget is 1.495 million versus for 23-24 1.12. So it's about 375,000. So, but that doesn't answer your question about how many tons it is.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah, I thought one of the charts you had, your write-up had the tonnage, did it not?
It does not.
It does not.
I don't have the
Yeah, and I just went through all of it, so I don't have it here. So, well, if you're in the website, can we put the ledger up there that we were just looking at? Or you don't need to. You were just talking about it over there. It'd be helpful. Are you on that screen already?
12,500.
That's what net 30 divided by 370.
So I'm in OpenGov.
Yeah. Did you want to look at those line items?
No,
Or you okay?
no, I was just.
Yeah, there was 50,000 coming in from somewhere else. Give me one moment here. It wasn't exactly a wash on the MSW. It was the 50,000 difference.
So the waste management is, you know, a huge chunk of the budget at roughly a third. Actually, almost precisely a third.
Yep.
And then the roadway and walkway maintenance is 41%, so nearly 75% is between those two
Yeah,
chunks.
and that's big movement within MSW this year.
It is.
It's a function of the contract coming up.
And that is likely to stay stable once we've got a contract in place. I think we're looking at a 3-year contract. So we'll
At
have
least 3.
stabilization or predictability on that after we've gotten this new contract in place.
So we've been benefiting from the fact that we've had a contract, and we're one of the few communities around here that have been receiving positive on recyclables.
You know, the one thing that was discussed both by, I think at both the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance when the presentation on Public Works was being made, is that with the pending contract, one of the things that is trying to get out of that is the facilities of the dump, where you have that compactor,
Right.
and apparently the compactor is not in the best of shape, and so part of this negotiations is to get a new compactor in there, and not at the town's expense. That's an investment that the operator would put into the facility as part of agreeing to the contract. So there are some, whatever, shall we say, hidden benefits that are pending with the negotiations that would not be reflected in the budget, but certainly would help the recycling center and the refuse removal.
Right. To do that, to motivate ways to do that, you need a contract in place, a multi-year contract, for them to expend the capital.
And they've agreed to do that within the contract, but not until the contract's signed.
Right. So it's still
It's just
technically negotiated.
Yeah, exactly.
It's still up in the air.
Yeah.
But that'll be a definite benefit for operations down at the transfer station.
When does the contract expire?
July
June
1.
30, June 30, July 1.
Soon.
Soon, and it's been in
Down to
negotiation.
the wire.
It's been in negotiation for some time.
Yeah.
Anything else on the operating side?
There's one note that I think is, because I pursued it from the finance side, is credit card fees continue to increase on everything that we're doing, whether it's on the parking operating side or on literally across all of the against like dump permits and the way people pay the town. Credit card fees are increasing every year, and so we currently in the town of Darien have multiple different credit card processors. It's something that we can't really manage from a budget standpoint. It is kind of the way it's structured, but I think it's a topic that both the finance director of the town and finance and budget needs to really, confront. They've both acknowledged that it's a problem that we don't have one credit card processor so that we can get the best credit card processing rates across the board. And we also don't, in any of our services, including those for the dump, we don't charge any administrative or processing fees in order to cover those credit card fees. So it's continuing to take a bigger chunk out of the budget.
Hasn't that been an issue for a while now?
Yes, it comes up quite often.
Yeah, I feel like
Just
it's-
ask Jack.
It does
Pet project.
comes up. I don't know if Parks and Rec puts through any of those credit
Parks and
card
Rec.
fees on there.
Yeah, but they're on a separate processor.
Right.
Oh, they are on the separate processor, yeah.
I just want to make sure I understand what the use of credit cards is going up, and because of the fact that we don't charge
For the fee.
for the fees, therefore our costs are going up.
No,
That's-
the credit card processors are also charging a
Yeah.
larger chunk.
The rate.
It's the
in
processing
addition to that.
fee rate.
It's not
Are
that
they?
more things are being charged on the credit card.
Well, this is
That's
what
part of it.
part of it. So
It's
more
a
things
yes
are-
and.
It's a yes
and.
and, yeah.
Yeah.
Although the credit card fees, actually, in the experience that I've read and the percentage or the interchange fees and all of that are not increasing, actually. And actually, given there was a big settlement.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed, I don't think
Oh,
they're
that
allowed
was,
to
yeah, not too long
increase.
ago.
They're not allowed to increase the interchange fees. So I think it's the use of credit cards across
The amount.
all of our
Well,
various
it-
platforms.
It's a dollar,
I think
it's not a
that's
rate.
It's the, as I understand it, so you've got like Visa and MasterCard are taking their percentage. That percentage is not allowed to go up per their
Yeah, but
settlement.
that's not,
But it's
the processor.
Stripe, Square,
Right.
et cetera, and
They
they've got
can
a
charge
fee
whatever
and
the heck
they
they
keep
want.
raising their.
Correct.
So there's multiple mouths
There's
you gotta
multiple
feed.
layers to this thing.
Yeah.
And the different software that we have deployed across the town, whether it's for taxes, whether it's here in town government, or it's in Parks and Rec, the software that you use to schedule things all build in the processor,
Yeah.
or have their favorite because they have a cut of the processing fees themselves as a software producer. So the software is working against us,
Yeah.
and we haven't forced it into a single kind of payment mechanism. So it's an ongoing issue. I just want to give it, and it consumes more budget because each year. So and without clearly any benefit to the town. So something, again, it's on the radar screen. It's nothing we can do about in the budget today.
Okay.
Not at this point, Ralph.
I don't like the arrangement, I really don't like it. You know, I had made a recommendation, I don't know if it got out to either of the boards, but I said, you know, we're gonna have these fees, I would like to see them separated on any billings that we send out for whatever it is, parking, whatever, okay? Because in the parking fees, parking permit, credit card processing fees, the Board of Selectmen budget lists $8,000 credit card processing fees for parking permits. That's just it's just for the parking.
I would expect that that could be imposed independent of the budgeting process. If the Board of Selectmen and the departments
Well-
chose to impose that, they could.
Yeah, you could just.
Yeah.
Because they set fees.
But they haven't.
Right, so that's not necessarily a
In fact,
budgeting.
Brodsky basically said, well, if you want to raise fees, we can always raise fees. And he dodged, the whole issue
Yeah,
of the credit card.
Pass it on to.
In effect, you're spreading it over the entire base.
I think it should be seen separately so that taxpayers can see clearly how much of that is for the actual parking fee, separately from other processing fees. I think that transparency, is,
We did share that with Board of Finance, as you know,
okay.
that we can escalate it, but it's a policy. In my opinion, that's more of a policy issue
I don't want
than a budget
to
issue.
just any more
Yeah,
time.
Your point is noted. A couple other things that I noted. There was a little bit of an increase related to, on the seasonal related to the new minimum wage. Let's see what else was there. You touched on, there was a reduction in tree maintenance, 10,000. Some of those nits and nats
Just
you
catching up.
alluded to.
Yeah. Right, we're still talking operating, right?
Yes.
Yep, yeah, these are in operating. The tire's in operating, which,
It went down because they're only doing 2 this year instead of 4.
yep,
Next year they'll do 4.
yep, that cycle. Telecommunications, there's a little bit of flip-flop for the GPS software, moving from software to telecommunications. That sounded like just like was a line item swap.
Question, those 13 readers at the police department, did that come out of technology also?
I think it came out of this,
It didn't come out.
It wouldn't come
Yeah,
from Public Works, that would come out of the
PD.
Public Health and Safety.
Or,
The police department. You're talking about
The police department.
the license
The
readers?
plate readers?
Yeah, the plate
Yeah,
readers,
that-
yeah.
for the police,
Right.
yeah, not the ones for the,
Yeah, that came
Well,
out.
because I think
Would they do the same thing for the?
the
For
Ranger
parking.
one would come out of the
Parking operation.
parking operating fund.
Yeah, which is a separate fund from Public Works.
Does that answer your question? Yeah. Let me see if there's any others that are interesting. I saw the line item on the fuel heating reduction. Wasn't clear on why that went down. But that was it. Those are the nits and nats.
Okay.
Thank you.
Second is the town public works capital budget.
Let me ask,
Yeah.
if there's no more questions on operating, anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I move that we
Oh, yeah, you'll get the mid-sill.
adopt and recommend the
Got it.
budget.
Do I have a
as
second?
A second.
Okay, all in favor of approving the selectmen's operating budget as presented? Unanimous? Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
I just happened to have printed out copies of the Public Works Capital Improvement Plan.
Great, so
Fantastic.
If you do an overview, and then Rolf's going to touch on a couple of line items that he's done some research on, had some
Okay.
questions on the research on.
The overall capital budget for this year is $2,099,500. This represents a decrease from what was originally requested, mostly by transferring things to ARPA, which I think we'll talk about. And it is an increase from our 23-24 budget, which was 1.85. So within this budget, the largest line item, as always, is town paving. And so we are flat on town paving at effectively, we're up 25,000, which is an anticipation of of paving that 5.8 miles of roads that we do every year in August if we possibly can. And so that is static. The second largest item is the $400,000 front loader, which everyone is in favor of, and so much so that we've moved it to the ARPA budget so we can get it done before the end of the year. So that saves the capital budget, that $400,000 that we would otherwise have within our budget. Sidewalks, for new sidewalks, filling in 3 key areas that are currently without sidewalks. All 3 of them are connecting sidewalks from 2 other areas where we do have sidewalks. So one's on Old Kings Highway, the other is on Tokenique Road, connecting to the school I believe on the and the third is on the cutover and it's on Sedgwick. So those are
connecting Sedgwick from Post Road to, what's that, Mansfield Avenue?
to Mansfield. Exactly. So those are the 3 new areas of sidewalks, 165,000. There is no budget for, and in fact, the board of the town administrator removed the sidewalk rehabilitation, which was because we have unspent, already allocated funds. So I think there is a question there in terms of, okay, why haven't we spent them at the pace that we should be spending them? But nonetheless, we have this amount in unspent funds that have already been allocated. So there's no need to, and it's not prudent to add another 500,000 on top of that for sidewalk rehabilitation.
Right, I think the way she said it was, Ed has plenty of funds and plenty of work to do.
It was, you paraphrased that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, there is a problem there in that these are unspent allocated funds specifically for sidewalk rehabilitation.
Yeah.
And the fact is that's not been done at the pace that we were anticipating it being done. So,
Well, the fiscal year isn't over yet.
But we're removing sidewalk rehabilitation from next year's capital budget.
Yes.
So there won't be incremental spend in order to fill it in. We have a gymnasium upgrade, $90,000 for the gym floor replacement and resurfacing. We have the resurfacing of the post 53 lot, which will actually go hand in hand with adding a sidewalk from the post 53 lot down to the remainder of, and that's going to come out of the, I don't know if that's in the parking budget or not, or that's one of the new pieces of sidewalk.
Yeah, I think it's new pieces of
What's
sidewalk.
that?
The new side, once they do once they pave over there by the post 53,
Yeah.
the next
Yeah, the sidewalk connect
Yeah, we'll go
from there over to the train station.
down to
Yeah, that's already funded.
Right, it's already funded, so that'll be done, and the paving in that parking lot will be done.
It's from the post 53 lot to the rest of the train parking
The
lot.
train.
Coming down that
Yeah,
hill.
I think it's gonna go up to where the platform is.
I'm not certain where
That's
the
how it goes
interconnect
up,
is.
yeah.
There was some debate about where town property ends and
State
Connecticut
property.
DOT property begins.
Mhm.
But from what I understand, it's going to go behind the parking spaces from the post 53 down to wherever the property line is, which I
Right
think is
there.
where the fence
Right
used
at
to
the
be.
base, yeah, where the fence was, right at the base of
What happens there?
Yeah, you're on your own.
Well, but you're on your own the whole way now, so.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, this has been an issue for 25 years.
Whole time I commuted, I have a career. So I am unclear if that's coming out of parking, excuse me, parking capital or capital.
Well,
Sidewalk
if it's in here, it's coming out of,
but
Well, it's not in this year's
it's
budget.
not,
Or was it?
it's not in the 165,000 for new sidewalks, or
Yes.
it was not described in
No.
that, that's for those 3 other areas.
well, it's showing resurface the post 53 lot for
That
90,000.
is. We're talking about the sidewalk. Once that project's done.
So it was clear in the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance meeting that the sidewalk was already funded and paid for. So that,
Okay.
the fact that it was not here, so it was clear in the presentation.
It's,
Got it.
That
it
sidewalk.
said, you know, I've got the money to do the sidewalk, we just
Yeah.
want to get the paving done, then do the sidewalk project.
Got it.
Then that whole upper space is just brand new. Last point here is just the design and repair for the scour for the Old Kings Highway South Bridge. And so that's 50,000 again, design.
Design,
That's,
Was there any
just a
detail,
design fee.
Just as,
was there any detail on the 120,000 for the drainage upgrades?
no. For the drainage upgrades in the parking lot?
No.
Oh,
it's just-
sorry, no,
just-
it's because it got zeroed out. I was looking at the 23-24 line, sorry.
Yeah, and that was
It doesn't
appropriated,
carry.
120,000.
Yeah, that was, prior
That
year
was the
budget.
prior year. I
Yeah.
was not carrying that forward.
And there was
Although-
no follow-up on whether there was any need for, and I just, by not having any reference to it in the budget process this year, so I didn't hear of any need to continue that drainage, the types of drainage things that are going through here. Most of the drainage projects are so big that they need basically separate appropriation
right.
outside the budget.
and there's studies going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Funded out of the park, I think.
some of it.
Some of us, but there's on.
He also came for some more.
Non-recurring capital.
Does
Yeah,
anyone know
not
that
too long ago.
Holly Pond Dam repair in 2026, 2027 6-year capital plan is? Does anyone hear more about that works on the?
Well, I know he's working on it, but the last report I recall hearing, and I think this was in his last quarterly report, I sent a copy of that out to everybody. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but he's still working with FEMA
Got it.
to finalize the design of what work is to be done. They won't commit on funding until it's done, actually. So it's gonna be one of these deals where we're probably gonna have to fund it up front, get the work done,
And then get
send it all to FEMA, chase them down, wait who knows how long to get them to respond, and then finally we'll get something.
Got it.
But no one knows how that's all gonna shake out. I know Ed definitely has it on his to-do list. He's been working on it for quite some time. I know he would like to get that done as soon as possible because at the same time, the bridge itself also is due for some repair work.
Great.
Okay, so I think he would like to try and do all that together. Timing wise, I don't know if that's gonna work out. I would be
What bridge is
surprised.
that? Bridge?
Yeah, the Rings End, right? We're talking about the Rings End Dam.
No, I
and
was
Rings
talking about
End
the Holly-
Bridge.
No, this is the
Holly
Holly
Pond.
Pond.
Holly
This is
Pond.
the Holly Pond Dam.
Dam, oh, I'm sorry, I
That's okay.
apologize.
No, I think
I'll look and see.
as
if I
we
can
look
find
to next year, I mean, the proposal for next year's budget going from 2 million approximately in capital this year to 2.9 million is gonna take some more kind of scrutiny. Because it's
Finessing.
not clear to me that that's, again, there's just a lot that's been pushed into next year.
750 in sidewalk rehab,
So we're back on
that's a big one. Up from 500 proposed this year, or close to.
and zeroed out.
Yeah, it's a swing, that's a big swing.
Okay.
Good
Um,
comment this year.
So any other, so to Rolf for commentary.
Yeah, we sort of touched on it, Ralph.
Well, yeah,
Elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, just quickly, it's just a matter of, there's so much talk about roads, paving, and sidewalks. And, you know, we just talked about the capital expenditures, and this traditionally is usually bonded, because particularly in roads, you know, they go for such a long period of time, and the dollars involved are very, very substantial. And even, you know, sidewalk work, rehabilitation, $750,000, same thing. Sidewalks usually last 10, 20 years, and it's a good chunk of money, so again, bonding usually comes into play there. But I want to be sure that we distinguish between these types of expenditures, capital expenditures for sidewalks and roads and paving, versus, is up on the pie chart there. In the operating budget, there's the one pie there that we looked at earlier. I think I said it was like 33% of the total of the public works budget falls under the category of roadway and walkway maintenance. Okay, so again, we get the roadway and the walkway, and then we have it here listed in capital expenditures. And I just wanted to, you know, clarify for everybody's understanding, more as a point of information than anything else, that within the town of Darien, roadway and walkway maintenance, you know, that heading covers an awful lot of different things, and they're not all directly relatable per se to roadway and walkway maintenance. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody has a clear understanding. So I pulled out one of the main descriptive items that fall within that operating category of roadway and walkway maintenance. And it covers all kinds of things: electricity, equipment and maintenance repair, facility repair and maintenance, salary. You know, we have, I don't know, I think about 9 or so full-time employees that are people that man the trucks that go around and plow in the wintertime and pick up Christmas trees and...
Well, I don't know if Christmas trees would be in this.
Well, I don't know where else it would be, let's put it that way.
I think you'd get a portion.
You think it's a special one for that? You know, other things: heating oil, ice control, motor fuel and lubricants, operating supplies, etc., 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 paving services, which is...
Why would tree maintenance be in here?
I'm not questioning per se what's in there, I'm just making the point that we have a clear understanding about what falls into this umbrella of roadway and walkway maintenance.
So I think what you're asking is, of these line items, how do they apportion, is it being apportioned for when the vehicles are being used and the personnel are being used for roadway and walkway maintenance versus when those individuals are perhaps being used to pick up Christmas trees or large item pickup?
Yeah, and Ed has said from time to time, you know, he'll make personnel available to help with other parts of town, such as Parks and Rec Department, okay, and even time to time to help out with the Board of Ed Department. So I think all of that definitely falls into this bucket, if you will, okay, because it doesn't fall in public building management, I don't believe. Certainly not waste management, certainly not management and engineering. The only other one is parking operations and maintenance. So.
I'm not quite sure I understand the point.
Are you suggesting
Well,
that
the point is
should
that,
be in another
yeah, I think we
budget?
just have to be cognizant of the fact that there's a lot of discussions that go on about roadways and sidewalks. And this bucket is labeled roadway and sidewalk maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, there are some aspects of it that is truly roadway and walkway maintenance, but it covers a lot of other things as well that are not necessarily directly relatable to roadways and sidewalk maintenance.
Sounds like a catch-all.
I think
So yeah, I think a lot of things just fall in
it's
here just to have a place for it to be, even though it's not directly related to roadways and sidewalk maintenance.
a nice relationship. We're about 1.5, right? In the 3 sidewalks and paving, and then it's 2.15, which is the side budget for the maintenance, which is way bigger.
Than the capital. So
Than the capital.
it's the operating expenses throughout the year for maintaining roadways and walkways and the other things that basically are needed by the town facility, the town maintenance facility, that's not transfer station related. So they apportion personnel against, and even management time against those different buckets.
That's what I believe is going on as well, but we can certainly.
I just found it a little misleading in my own reading, if you will, that all of these various things fall under this general heading of roadway and walkway maintenance, because I think there's more to it than just roadway.
Yeah, because they break down the full public works operating budget into only 5 categories.
Yeah. Right. So the heating for the building needs to be apportioned. You can't all, well, you could all go to buildings, potentially, or you can spread it out.
Right.
And I think that that's, you know, again, it's a budget question in terms of whether the payment for the heating of the maintenance facility building, is that considered a building, or is that roadway and walkway maintenance? I think this indicates it's roadway and walkway.
Because they park the trucks
Because they park all the trucks there.
That's mostly what it's used for, right?
That's mostly.
Versus perhaps this building.
This building is in building and public building maintenance.
So you're questioning fairly what's in here. We can certainly get explanation as to how it's apportioned, get better clarity as to how it's apportioned.
You know, the other thing that's going on with Public Works right now, and, you know, Patrick has brought this up in the past, is, you know, how much time is being put into the island.
Right. Similarly,
Subject, you know,
similarly, the attention, and my understanding is that it is being tracked in the portion.
I think that's an important question that I don't know the answer to, because we didn't see any reduction to the town operating budget for public works due to the apportionment of any of Ed or the team's time to the Great Island projects. So we haven't seen any evidence of reallocation or reapportionment.
From what I understand, is like the sewer fund, like the parking, there's going to be a capital operating for Great Island. I'll defer to Jack to explain where that's headed. I think he's covering that on the budget.
The only line item that I'm aware of in the budget that relates is, I think it's $250,000 that was put in there, earmarked for the Great Island, because, which particularly came about as a result of the loss, if you will, of the stable lease. The lease they couldn't renegotiate, and Serenity Stables pulled out, and with it took the rent. So that's the only line item I'm on.
So on the capital, we're going to break it into 2 votes. The capital budget itself, and then we've got this 6-year capital plan that was presented. Obviously, the first year of that plan is the current budget. This, from what I understand, this is the first year where the departments are being asked to review the capital, 6-year capital plan, and it'll be up for review and consideration each year hereafter.
So there's a vote on the 6-year. That's interesting. That's not been a part of the practice.
The state
play in this.
Some sort of mandate that this be done at the town level. So this is not going to be up for a vote at the full RTM.
Okay.
But each of the departments is being asked. This is the first year we've done this, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've all been here a long time.
Yeah,
David's
never
been here a long
seen
time.
Exactly.
This is
Be asked of this
so.
before.
What's been asked of us is to review it, be aware of it, and next year we'll get asked to review it again. And going into this year, we know eyes wide open, it's coming.
Yeah, because it wasn't a topic of discussion
Nope.
throughout the entire budget process.
That's right.
So is the vote on the 6-year capital plan to approve it or to acknowledge that we are aware of it? Where are we actually?
Yeah,
That's a great question.
That's an excellent question.
Because for next year, we have a significant increase of 800,000.
Because that's where it's
Well,
like,
and 750 of that is sidewalk rehabilitation.
and I think, and that's the only thing that we can do is to acknowledge that we have seen it and that we're aware of it.
We're aware of it.
It's because the full RTM is not looking for a recommendation.
An up or down or support.
The Board of Selectmen or Board of Finance are not looking for feedback. They haven't asked for feedback on it or an approval of it. So I'm comfortable with acknowledging it and making sure that we are fully aware of it. And next year, I think we ought to look at it.
So there are 6 columns in the spreadsheet, that's all we're really saying?
That's
That has numbers in
We
it?
have a lot of numbers in them.
Well,
I mean, it says that it's a plan. It doesn't say that
It's
it's
not a
a
budget.
budget.
Right.
It says it's a capital improvement plan, so we can.
I would agree
approve a plan.
that,
It's
I would
not
like to
a
vote to acknowledge
Me too.
the plan. I don't even want to say plan necessarily, acknowledge the future projected possible capital
The
expenditures.
estimated projections.
Okay, that sounds good. I don't want to go any further than that.
All right, so let's,
Because I think.
Oh, look who's here.
Look who's here. Ian said.
thank you for the effort, sir.
Thank you.
So let's do this,
So
let's break it into 2 votes. One we have to clear tonight, we should clear both tonight.
Okay.
I'll entertain a motion for approval of the capital budget as presented.
I motion that we
Do I
approve
have
it.
a page on the second? All in favor of approving the capital budget as presented? Unanimous. And you got, Frank has arrived.
Can Frank vote, because he wasn't
He's
part of
here.
the discussion?
He
can
can
now.
vote.
Yeah.
He can always choose to abstain.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, he's here and he can vote. And then with regard to acknowledging the 6-year plan that was presented, of which the current year's capital budget is year 1. Acknowledge that we've
Can,
received it, reviewed it.
can we highlight within that the really significant increase is basically due to one particular project, which is a sidewalk rehabilitation that was pushed from this year to next year? I don't understand enough about it, but obviously, you know, that's gonna be the big increase next year.
Mm-hmm.
And I would suggest that we acknowledge that that the town has a plan, and that we look forward to working with the town and the Director of Public Works on discussing the plan in the coming year.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
A motion to acknowledge the plan.
That's a second?
A second.
Okay. All in favor?
No.
Okay, 1 no.
There's a plan.
Thank you.
Because it's not a plan.
Fair enough. And I'll reflect that in the, well, not, it's
You
not,
can reflect on that.
it'll reflect in the minutes.
I'll reflect it in
And
the.
it's not, I don't think it's up for a vote in, well, I know it's not up for a vote in the RTM.
Okay, next, I think we should move to the sewer operating budget. Our sewer operating budgets are by definition, expenses and revenues are intended to balance each other. And any excess revenue or excess expense that happens throughout the year, though I'm not aware of excess expense on this budget, moves into the capital fund that supports future years. So these 2 budgets, revenue and expenses, revenue from sewer collections that come to our sewer commission and they are to the town, and the expenses that they pledge are equal. The sewer operating budget for the coming year is $923,000, I believe. And there is, which represents an increase over the 23-24 revised budget of $838,000. There is additional, there are a couple of sources of this. There's regular investment in pump station equipment, which is an important topic right now for the sewer commission. And there is also an added expense that we had over the past year where Stamford had a major capital expense that they had to incur. We are a 15% owner, or it seems like an equity ownership of some sort. In that, so we have a 15% obligation to take on the expense that occurred this past year, And so we've been, Ed's already, as he told us in January, he's already been accruing for this and increasing over the past year and absorbing it in the 24 budget, and in the 25 budget, which we're talking about here, we continue to get an increase. So that's I think the bulk of the increase that's coming in this budget.
And again, to hit the headline, that budget is funded by user fees.
Yes, it's heavily funded by sewer.
It does not
user
come out of
fees.
the operating or the capital budget of the town.
So I propose, unless there are any other questions, I motion to adopt the sewer operating budget as presented.
I think we can lump them together, but let's do a separate case we.
I'll lump together whatever you wish.
He's doing this.
Yeah, okay. I need a second? You can be able to record at least, just flip it over if you have to.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you.
There is a capital budget as well for sewer, for the sewer fund, obviously investing in a long-term asset of the sewer systems here. The capital budget for the year is $94,000, and it has, which is a significant reduction from the, due to where we are in the phase of the CCTV inspections of it. Last year it decreased it by basically $100,000, which was spent on completing the CCTV survey of the sewer system. That's going to be an ongoing expense. You'll see that coming back in future years. We have a year where we don't have it, basically. And so other than that, we're effectively flat. We have continued things like root control, pump replacement for the sewer system. $94,000 capital budget. Any questions? I certainly hope not, because I probably couldn't answer them. With that, I would motion that we adopt the sewer capital budget as presented.
Have a second?
Second.
Rolf? All in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Parking?
Parking, again, the parking fund, revenues and expenses offset each other. Both are increasing this year, revenue and expenses, in alignment with that. And we are proposing for the operating budget for the parking fund, $923,000. Sorry, I have this open before instead of sewer. And it's increased due to it includes, so we had a partial year of the Ranger last year. We have had to recruit Rangers on a regular basis throughout the year because I understand it's pretty much the lowest paid position we have in the town of Darien. So every time we get a Ranger on board, they quickly find out that there's another job for the town of Darien that pays more. And so they move to that other job. So the town administrator is looking at increasing the compensation, the salary for the parking ranger so that we can keep them in the role for longer than 3 months. So this is what we learned.
On the other hand, if one of your kids needs a job for the summer,
there are
apparently an opening.
There are positions available on the website.
With expected turnover after 3 months.
Exactly. Perfect. And other than that, some of the increases we've talked about a little bit have been the increases in credit card fees that are going against parking. Specifically, it's probably the single largest increase, and it's only $8,000. So other than that, we are on par with prior year.
Thank you. Motion? I'll entertain a motion. Yep. Second from Pat. Pat wants to get in on it. I'm in on that. All in favor? Unanimous?
Yes.
Unanimous?
Get it out of
That was you're saying motion is possible.
And the last is the parking fund capital budget. proposal for $275,000. The only item in the capital budget for parking this year is the resurfacing of the Norotan Heights North Block in the state, I believe the state portion, state covered portion, because the parking fund here is managed. So I won't speak to that. But we have a capital budget, $275,000, entirely for the resurfacing of the north lot of Norotan Heights.
Yeah, they did all that work on that north lot to put in the drainage, and so now he's got to pave it.
Okay.
And just anecdotally, a lot of what was taken out of there was brought up to Edgerton.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I remember
okay.
you mentioned that too.
It's Phil.
Ah,
Yeah.
Okay.
To build that up.
Good.
Not relevant to the budget,
But
but to it. Okay.
so I motion that we adopt the parking capital budget as presented.
A second from Rolf.
Sure.
Quick on the draw. Plus he's facing this in front of me. So no offense to you.
Okay, all
All in favor? Go ahead, Rolf. All right, very good.
just trying to
Keep us moving.
keep it going.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
That was tremendous.
thank you, Jeff.
Yes.
Tremendous. And with that, we've covered the first of the focus areas that we're going to address tonight. There's a few other focus areas that I know folks have either reached out or I've reached out to address. Deja, if you'd like to cover
talk about
sustainability, environmental. You have a little bit of
swap
an update for us on the swap shop, sure.
The swap shop is reopened. I think everybody's checked it out. It reopened last week. Thursday, Friday, Saturday are the new days. There's new hours. There's new everything. If you have any questions, ask me. So the new hours are 8:30 to 1 for shopping and drop off, and then just 1 to 2 will be drop off only. There's a drop off area now. Volunteers are needed, so if you want to volunteer, there's 2 people in charge. Susan, what's Susan's last name? Cameron. You can reach out to Susan Cameron or reach out to me and I can connect you with her. And then Reese is the other gentleman. They're kind of both the quote-unquote supervisors in charge of the volunteers. The volunteers have name tags now. I'm one of them, although I haven't volunteered at the swap shop yet, just getting it set up and ready to go.
Let me ask you this, I believe there's either a spot on the website with information, everything you just described.
Yes.
And how to get in, if you're interested in volunteering. If you don't have that at your fingertips,
Yeah.
if you would simply send it to Pat, will include it in the minutes.
Absolutely.
Attach it.
Yeah,
If you would
I can
send that
send
to tomorrow,
volunteer, sure.
we'll get it into the minutes, and that'll capture everything you just shared.
Yeah, will do.
Okay.
And, yeah, so only open Thursday, Friday, Saturday at the moment, but,
Can you repeat again, who is the supervisor?
Susan
Susan Cameron.
Cameron, yeah.
Okay. So is Dolcetti still involved, or?
He's one of the volunteers, absolutely, and still
Volunteer,
involved,
okay.
absolutely. There's something else that was important about it. Oh, there's an Instagram now.
If you would send that to.
I'll send it to you.
Send it all.
There's an Instagram account that'll give you updates. It will be closed in the rain because everything needs to be stored inside and they're putting less stuff in the hopper really, because since people are dropping off at the end of the shift, like from 1 to 2, that stuff will be kind of stored and then put out the next day that it's open. So if it's raining, they won't be open. If the rain's not till later in the day, it will be open. So just always kind of check the Instagram account if you're curious or do a drive-by.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I do want to say I went by multiple times. You, Susan, and the rest of the team, you had a bunch, when I was there, 6, 7 volunteers,
So many.
scrubbing that thing down, painting.
It looks super nice.
It looked, they really did a nice job cleaning it up,
They did a
sprucing
good
it up,
job.
doing basic maintenance on it.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Can I just ask?
It is run by volunteers, remember?
Yes.
Yeah.
Can I just ask, like, has the facility been expanded? Have the rules been changed at all?
Yes, so
Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Ed put up shrubs and giant boulders and a sign that disallows pedestrians to enter because that was a safety concern of several of the town's residents, and it has continued to come up in front of this body. So that is a big improvement to the space, other than the paint, the painting of things. The volunteers also have to sign an agreement now. So there's like rules and regulations in place, and it's a bit more just structured. And Susan and Reese and a lot of the volunteers, and there's so many, got a lot of input from other towns to see like how Stanford does it, how New Canaan's doing it, and they borrowed some of their, some of the learnings from them. So yes.
And some basic instruction is provided to the volunteers.
Absolutely, and we all have to sign off on a thing that says we agree.
That all sounds great, I think.
Yeah,
those
and then
are-
the uniforms and
There's
the
some
tags.
more structure.
So like people aren't coming out to your car and grabbing stuff and taking it for themselves anymore because there's a drop-off area. So instead they can say, do you need help with the stuff? But yeah, it's just to create a much more friendly environment that hopefully won't receive any more complaints.
One page, thank you.
Yeah,
And thank you for your efforts.
absolutely.
Under the banner of town, you have an update on,
On Edgerton?
yes.
Yeah, so the turf is being replaced and I think there's the two fields actually. It's northeast of Middlesex Middle School. So they were supposed to have started work, I think, on Monday. They didn't start?
They put a digger in there.
Okay. Well,
they
that's
backed it in, they didn't do anything with it.
That's
So they're supposed to put AstroTurf there?
No, I think they're putting in regular turf.
Yeah, there's
Should
a
be
lot of
about
dirt
a
there.
3 or 4 week project.
Some soccer practice.
But they had to build up one part of it,
It's not.
which is where the extra fill came from to sort of balance it off. And, you know, they're not gonna do any work on weekends. They had to bring in, I think they're gonna bring in, I think if I remember correctly, about 10 loads of soil to,
That's
they're
probably
really
finishing
rebuilding
soil,
all of
probably.
these, yeah, for the finishing. But it should be done in about 3 or 4 weeks. Not gonna do anything on weekends or over the Labor Day, or Memorial Day weekend.
Will they be planting grass once all the...
My understanding is they're putting grass in.
Thank you for that. I'll be honest, I was unaware.
No,
And
The
they
funding
clean-
for that
they
was
clean-
passed
they clean-
years
Yeah,
ago.
that's why, since prior to me getting back involved here.
Yeah, it came up like about 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I think Ed brought it up.
Yeah, but I didn't, I thought he was referring when he described it to just the portion where the building was. It's-
But
Did
the
they-
Which they
pedestrian,
filled in as well.
pedestrian access is still, you know, the cars can still go up that way, the buses, and the sidewalk's still open, so.
Did they clean up the area where the old senior center was, just above the...
Yeah, if you've been by there in the past 4, 5, 6 months, it's all been filled in with a lot of the fill from Road Heights drainage. Last time I was there, it hadn't been graded
Yeah,
and
right.
finished, but it was there.
That's the last time I saw it.
Yep. So thank you for that. Under the banner of flooding, Pat, touch on,
From dirt to flooding. Yeah, so the Pear Tree Beach remediation / reconstruction plan was presented to the Board of Selectmen on Monday. Primary presenter was Craig Flaherty, who's the consultant that they used. There's another fellow named Dan Biggs from a different consulting firm. The two of them were co-presenting. Ed Gentile was in attendance but didn't really speak. Again, this was kind of revisiting something that had been, frankly, brought to them a couple years ago, I guess, before my time on this board. But essentially, basically, 3 components to it, which was to reconstruct and landscape the beach and raise the parking lot to help mitigate the flooding, which has gotten progressively worse over the last several years. The pictures that were provided with the packet were pretty crazy, because I've experienced some of this, but there's a lot I haven't. People parking their car, going for a walk around the loop, and their cars 2 feet of water when they come back.
No way.
And some of the things you learn at these things when you listen is, this is on sunny days in some cases. It's wind, it's tides, it's lunar cycles, it's all sorts of things that are driving this down. And of course, sea levels rise in general. So basically, re-landscaping and expanding the beach, raising the parking lot, reconstructing the boat ramp by the boat club. And then I'm not entirely sure that this is tied into this flooding issue, but dredging from the new boat ramp would be around the little channel there out to basically where the gas dock is at the boat club. So I don't know. I mean, I know there's another effort to dredge the whole channel, which has been discussed, but I'm not sure this is related to that, but it's part of it. You know, the plans were presented, it looks great. You know, one thing that I learned is that, you know, the elevation of Weed Beach is 8 feet above sea level. Never floods, really, other than major storms. Pear Tree's about 3 feet, so that's the issue. So the intention is to raise it a couple of feet. And also, if you've ever noticed, it tends to funnel naturally as water does to the low point, which tends to be along that side where the little beach is, and to the boat club and things like that. So that's where a lot of the problem is. So it was never put out to bid, but the estimated cost in 2022, so what, 2 years back, was about $6.7 million. And I know that also I'd heard that this wasn't discussed, but I believe the work would be done in the off season, so it would be a fall, winter, early spring effort, assuming they can get it all done. So anyway, the board seemed very keen to move forward with this. I guess right now they want to basically move immediately, quote unquote, to the bid phase and get bid documents. I guess move this forward. I don't know what budget year this would fall into, but I don't know if it could happen as quickly as this fall, winter, or be voted on, but it sounded like it was pretty high on their list. Actually, the one other piece of this that is mentioning is that, well, two. Number one, to do this, you're going to lose 31 parking spots, which I would like to think that they can figure out a way to minimize that number, but that's what the proposal has now.
There's 200. That's related to the expansion.
It is. Yeah. It is. Yeah. But
because they're not going out with the beach.
No, not exactly. They're coming in. I wonder could you shrink those spots by 6 inches each, and under those 10? I don't know. But we can hopefully look at that. And there's a little bit of a time urgency on this too, because all this was approved by the DEP, but work would have to begin. I don't know if you were there, but it was. I think it's like a couple-year window that has to be. At least there has to be something started on this. Because it was approved in October of 22, and I think there's like a 3-year window.
No, it'll go out. The permits allow this to go out to 2027.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's 4 years or 5 years.
To start or to complete?
No, it's to be done.
Okay, that's tight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's why there's the urgency that came up in the meeting.
That's why it's urgent.
There was some discussion of demonstrating progress. I think you have to have demonstrated progress on this by 27, and then hope to get an extension, but that's not a guarantee.
Okay, so
one of the Board of Selectmen said, okay, for argument's sake, if we were not going to be able to meet the 2027 deadline, how serious, how difficult, what's involved with getting an extension
of an EPA permit?
Right.
Okay.
I say let's not mess about that.
You want to find out?
No.
And so this consultant who was involved with this project said, well, you'd have to really demonstrate that you're far along in the project and that you're showing a good faith effort to get the project done in order to convince them to give you an extension. But if you were to apply for it, they're not going to tell you right away off the bat, oh, well, yeah, sure, we'll extend that. No, it doesn't work.
So this is step one in demonstrating progress, probably.
Yeah, at minimum.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think we should go there, frankly. I think we should get it done.
Yeah.
No, if it's moving forward, yeah. Anyway, Pat, thank you.
Sure.
Interesting. So those are the focus areas. Anyone else? Focus areas. Need to report. We can only stick with that's the last item on the agenda is focus areas.
Does the Hanson Bridge?
Bridges is a focus area. If you've got an update, if someone has an update.
Well, just because I think the Hanson Road Bridge is still on for, hopefully, they should start sometime before summer. But there are a couple of easements, some temporary easements that they've worked out with the abutting neighbors, including Weber. There are a couple of temporary, and they're going to need at least one, potentially 2 permanent easements. to complete this. So those have been under discussion. They're in negotiation with the landowners, property owners. When I last spoke to Ed, they hadn't finalized those yet, but he wasn't surprised or worried about it, that they'll get them done. Those permanent easements, however, would have to come before the RTM to be approved. So,
More to come on this.
more to come.
Thank you for
Are
that.
the permanent easements just for access so that human beings can go, like, inspect the bridge? Or is it for, like, equipment or machinery or, like, hard assets?
The permanent easements are because they're expanding the size of the structure that they're putting in requires that they need more space on either side.
Like the guardrail.
And the
On
guardrail.
both sides of the road and in terms of width.
So it's for hard assets that are permanently installed?
Yep.
Basically dropping the guardrail.
So it's down to a negotiation of what your land worth versus.
Yeah, plus I think, they want to have a little bit more landscaping work done than what was in the original plan, but, Ed made it clear, we'll satisfy your needs.
They the property owners.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second?
I'll give you a second. Thank you very much.